I want to begin with demand has been good ever since the second big recession took off. How do you think the festive season will pan out for Maruti and the overall auto industry?
Yeah, so actually we have the festive season starting in south, for example, just now in Kerala with the Onam. Then it comes to the west where we have the Ganesh Chaturthi after some time, and finally spread across west, central part of the country, north and east, starting with the Navratras, which is I think 6th October onwards. At the moment, when we have only the benchmark of Onam, and that too for the last four days, so I think it's too early to make a comment on that. But given this 4 month period, 4 days period in which we have observed the demand patterns, and if we go by the overall inquiry level, the the booking levels, the retail levels, I think if those were the benchmarks for assessing demand, I think the demand seems to have been recovered quite a bit. I do hope that the festival season would be good. You mentioned about the supply side, of course. On the demand side, is the it seems to be recovering. On the supply side, yes, there are some issues. You already know that we have a component supply issue, and we have to wait and see how that pans out. Because generally, what OEMs do during the preceding month or preceding fortnight of the real festive season, which is the 6th October, we have an inauspicious period, which is the Shraddh period, as you know. And that period, generally dealers build up stocks. So we have to see how the supply situation would be in September to know exactly how many deliveries we can make in the festive season.
Right, right. I'm going to just adjust the mic so that the audio will get
Yeah.
spoiled.
Yeah.
We'll continue from
Yeah.
that. Right. So, how much of the impact the chip shortage is having on your supply, your ability to deliver, cater to the demand now? And will that play a spoil sport for the festive season as well? Is that a big overhang now? The only issue the industry is facing, I think, globally as well.
So I just mentioned that it all depends on how the supply pans out from now onwards. Of course, we have had a cut in production in the month of August. We have informed the stock exchange as
Right.
well, as you
Sorry.
know.
Yeah.
So it all depends on how the situation changes in September. We are closely monitoring the situation, and our people in the supply chain probably would be the best people to answer this question. But they are closely monitoring the situation to assess what would be the impact in
Also, in
September.
terms of demand, also where is the demand coming from? Is the rural back? Urban is doing well this time around. If you have to give me a sense of rural versus urban, how what kind of trends you're seeing in terms of demand?
So I think it's roughly similar. Earlier part of the recovery period, we saw urban was a little higher in June second fortnight, for example, than the rural, because I think this time the second wave affected the rural areas also. But if you look at the July pattern, it is roughly similar. In fact, just a little bit higher for rural. So we have our rural sales, which is now roughly about 41% of our overall sales. So that has been held by the recovery in the demand in the rural areas as well. And I think one of the fundamental reasons for that is that the rural economy is still quite on a solid foundation. We seem to be having a normal monsoon, although in August I know there has been a little bit of a shortfall, about 7-8%. The Kharif sowing has been pretty good. The general outlook is that probably the rural income levels would continue to prosper, and therefore we can expect rural to continue to do well.
Right, and also in terms of what kind of inventory levels are there? Are they at the right stage to cater to the festive demand? Because at the FADA, the FADA summit as well, dealers were talking about the inventory levels not at par as the usual festive preparation would be like. How is Maruti prepared for that in terms of inventory levels?
Yeah, so our inventory levels are about 120,000 or so, which is um, I mean, I would expect the by the that the inventory levels still far from the season of 6th October. So it all depends on how the inventory builds up in this intervening period. But at the if your question is how much is the inventory level at the moment, it's around 120,000, which is let's say about 24, 23 or 24 days
And
of
for the
stock.
festive season, how much inventory you would ideally need? Or 30, 45 days?
Yeah, so it depends from geography to geography. As the festival seasons is spread across different geographies of India in a different way. So northeast, for example, in some states, you have a high demand during the Christmas time. You have a good demand like this time in Kerala, where you have Onam, which do not get so much affected by the Navratras. But of course, in much of North India, in Central India, West India, and even parts of East India, the demand seems to be strong in the festive period immediately after the Navratras.
Yeah.
So, depending on that, the stock levels we manage, of course. And yes, you are right. Probably an ideal stock level is slightly around or above the 30 days limit.
What about other issues, raw material, the logistics, tariff hikes in supplying components? How are you catering to that? And how big of a raw material pain is also? We have seen automakers doing almost third hike. Uh, are the prices at par to manage, or it's still a worrisome situation?
Yeah, so commodity prices have been high. As you know, we have taken two price hikes, one in January, the other one in April. Um, so you're right, the commodity prices still continue to be high, although in the last week or so, they have some of the raw material has shown some sort of a softening. But I think we continuously to monitor the situation. These levels of commodity prices are quite high, and but of course we have to walk that fine line between
How much room do you have?
so exactly the point. So we have to walk that fine line between the top line and the bottom line. So in a market situation like this, sometimes we feel that we need to calibrate what type of prices we should have, so as to not dampen the demand. So we have to make that calibration. We do it actually every day, this calibration, because the commodity prices
Is that impacting
continue
your
to be high.
margins as well?
Yeah, so I think in the last quarter, this thing when we announced the results, this question came up. So obviously, anything which affects the costs obviously affects our profitability. The commodity prices have gone up much faster than the increase in our prices. So you're right that in that sense it would have got
To what
affected.
extent it's going to impact?
So I'm not going to get into those details because I mean, first of
Is
all,
that your
I'm
biggest worry as well? Also impacting your profitability going ahead. Tata Motors mentioned that raw material is the biggest pain right now. It's not even the chip shortage for them. Uh, what is the biggest pain point for Maruti Suzuki?
so listen, if we do a calibration, then obviously one on the side of the product costs, obviously commodity prices is an issue. Today, if you talk of the supply side, of course, there is a semiconductor. When you talk of the demand side, then we say, oh, we must have some models, which we need to spur demand in some segments. So I think it is usual to have problems across different this thing, across different verticals, and I think each vertical is therefore handling the problems in the best possible manner.
And what other issues, logistics, are these too big of a concern right now, or they are fairly able to moderate, manage?
At this time, I think it's okay for us.
Right. So, cautious approach for the festive. Not sure how the demand will pan. Demand is there, but how you're able to serve the customers will
Yeah,
pan
yeah,
out as
yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. So I would say cautiously optimistic.
That's been one key word that has come out of the COVID crisis. But Shashank, thank you so much.
Thank you
Always
very much.
pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.